Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to start our next panel discussion. In today's fast-evolving fintech landscape, community building has become a cornerstone of successful marketing strategies, and this is what we will discuss in the next session, Community Building in Fintech in 2023-2024. Please welcome the moderator, Andrea Badiola Mateos, Chief Commercial Officer at Finance Magnates Group, who will introduce her session.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Mishka. Thanks for the introduction. I would like to move on to introduce the rest of the panel, but I think I'm going to let them do it themselves because nobody can do it better than themselves. I will say, though, that I think maybe next time we can do it in the speakers hall because we're going to be packed. So maybe, Giancarlo, you want to start?
Absolutely. Thanks for this introduction. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. The room is a bit, I feel very confident, that today is going to be a very interesting conversation. I think the topic is very interesting. This is Giancarlo Lionti. I take care basically of acquisition, marketing at scaling and growth. We are basically a CFD broker. We are known as the Scandinavian CFD broker. I'm very proud of this. And it will be very interesting to share some very interesting talk points that I've seen. I think there will be a lot of interesting points we will discuss today. So it's very nice to be here.
Thank you, Giancarlo. Thank you. I think it's off.
Now is it still on? Yes. Yeah. So Nikki Nicolau, Content Works Agency. We're a content marketing agency for the finance, fintech and tech space for the last 6 years. But my business partner Charlotte and myself have been in the industry for over a dozen years each, maybe even longer, but I won't admit to that.
Rasula?
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Andrea, for the invitation and congratulations for the organization, an amazing event. I am Drasula Hajisava. I am the Director of Marketing at Think Markets. Think Markets is an established broker since 2010, highly regulated, huge community, and I believe this topic is really relevant.
Thank you. Actually, one of the reasons that I wanted to host a panel on community building is because it's such a hot topic these days. Everywhere I go in the industry, as Finance Magnates, we talk with all of the actors around the industry, and every single person I talk to is about community building, expanding, your network of community in the client section, not just in your community peer. So why do you think it's such a hot topic right now? What are the trends?
So I believe that at the moment market conditions are requiring us to change a bit our approach, because probably in the past the market was getting everyone, giving them a higher intent in order to generate, basically to use our products in fintech in general. At the moment the market is a bit quiet, and so communities are an easy way for us to engage our own audience and basically get them to use our products. So this is very key at the moment, probably for this reason. And another reason I think is digital transformation, because after what we've seen in the last few years, users are starting using more and more digital assets in general, and their trusted circle, if we can call it this way, sits now even digitally. And it's not anymore like it was maybe in the past when you used to trust your friends with having that human touch, but now digital communities have a very strong value because of this, I think, two main factors, in my opinion.
Interesting, yes.
I want to touch on that. That's very true about trust. If you're a fintech and you're starting out, who are you? Are you for me? How can I trust you? I think those are the very key questions that anyone starting out or even established needs to establish that level of trust with people. I'm a digital native. I don't click on banner ads anymore. I don't read long articles. I don't watch videos longer than 30 seconds, maybe even 15 seconds. I don't trust those reviews. I don't trust your awards. I don't trust those testimonials. What do I trust? You know, who do I look to trust? It's going to be my communities. It's going to be my friend. And those friends of mine, they're online with me. Even if they're sitting next to me on the couch, we're probably going to be texting each other or messaging each other in some way as well and interacting that way. So I think online communities are where people are looking for, whether they're buying a car, a pair of sunglasses, or wanting to trade forex.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree. Drasula?
So from my side, I want to touch fintech industry and how it's actually booming and what is fueling fintech at the moment. I believe that technological advancement is one, which allows, let's say, even new startups to play with the big players. And then is the need for seamless digital experience. So part of this experience is the community building and how to engage your customer or your partner, your IB or your affiliate, how to retain them, how to entertain them, and how basically to help them convert at the end of the day. So that's why I think it's a big trend that will continue to grow because it will allow the players to be more competitive at the end of the day.
Absolutely. If I may add something myself as well, it resonates a lot, everything you're saying, because if we take also, I mean, fintech is a newer-ish kind of industry, but if we take a page out of older industries and, for example, gaming, like video games, for example, the kind of communities that are built through video games, people that don't even know each other, they have like the code name or the nickname, and they're like, they feel that they're friends forever, and they will really trust each other on where they should get something, where they should get a service. I think this is something that the fintech industry is learning right now and is starting to replicate in the fintech industry. And there's already a few brands that we're seeing are starting to replicate this kind of model where we create this trust. I think it's a keyword that you're very rightly pointed out. So what would be, yeah, I mean, you're all building communities and you all understand very well the concept of community building. What would you tell a startup or a company that is trying to create their community? They have been doing, let's say, marketing in a traditional way, and they feel they need to create this community. What are the do's and the don'ts?
So basically everything depends on the purpose you have, and you need to understand also the type of business that you represent. I mean, fintech communities can be built even by an affiliate, can be built by a media company, it can be built by a CFD broker. So first of all is understanding the need of your business, understanding the purpose of the community, and then you need to determine how to communicate with your community, which platform you are going to use. So the platform can be built in-house. We have examples in our industry with social trading. Social trading is actually building a community, if we think about it. And it helps engaging users on the way. It gives them an easy way to start with, even if they are newbies. And then that creates an easy engagement. If we think about it, strategy providers, help a lot engagement, help a lot stimulating the trading activity of our clients. And this is I think this is interesting. So first of all, understand who you are, understand what is the value that you want to basically give to the users, and understand also the type of content. Also, another important point is this community going to be engaged by content that is generated by yourself as an advertiser, for example, or is going to be also accepting user-generated content by the community itself. So that's my perspective.
Nikki?
Yeah, I definitely agree with the fact that it's about purpose. You need to go, how big does my community need to be? It doesn't have to be big. What is its purpose? Do I want beta testers for a new product, in which case I want it to be very small? And that might dictate what kind of platform I use. Maybe I'll go to GitHub if I'm looking for development. Developers kind of community? Or am I launching a new product, a new brand, in which case I want to go for the widest possible audience, in which case I will look at your kind of, your Twitter or X or LinkedIn groups. Maybe that's where my community is. And again, you look at, who's my target audience? Are they young? Are they on Discord? Are they older? Are they, on Facebook? Are they, what is it that they're buying? What is it that you want from that community? And maybe that community is already created. Maybe it's already out there for you, and you just need to be participating in it and listening. So the other side of it is your strategy. So it will encompass all of that. And that essentially means, I think, if you're going to go down community, you need to have complete buy-in from the top down, because it's quite a different approach to your traditional marketing avenues. And people need to be okay with the fact that, okay, we're going to do a community, there's going to be a lot of user-generated content. I need to keep it loose. I can't. So you asked about do's and don'ts. Don't micromanage your community. Keep it loose. Keep the things flowing. A really important thing to do, though, is to listen to them and be engaging in reply. Like, don't just start a community and walk away from it. Be prepared to actually have an in-house team that's going to be there and on it. Even if you have external support from an agency, you really need that ambassador in-house that's going to keep an eye on it, making sure that rules are followed, pin them at the top, but keeping things loose as well.
Great takes.
Well, I agree. In general, community is a very wide term. So I would start personally from understanding my target audience. And let's say if I need localization, if I don't, if I talk to partners, if I talk to customers. So this is a must to understand your audience. And then you have to break down the essential platforms that you want to build this community, because there are a lot of platforms, and something that marketing departments, let's say, they fall into this risk that they want to be everywhere, and at the end of the day they're losing it because they cannot monitor, they cannot maintain, they don't have quality content. So it's one of the same. And at the end of the day, what we want to engage our audience. So some of the do's and the don'ts really include, they all start from understanding the audience.
So would you say there is a difference when it comes to how established the companies? Should startups do it in a different way than very well-established companies? Because you're mentioning team size, for example. So that would be a factor. Startup probably doesn't have enough team in-house to take care of a community. Is there any other tools they could use to, kickstart their community until they grow a little bit, or should they just invest from the beginning in having somebody to manage it?
I mean, community building should be, in my opinion, a process that depends strongly on the way you use the community and the size of your business. If you are a startup, for example, of course, you might use a social community, building a social community, for example, on Telegram, to give an example, as a conversion tool in order to increase your conversion rates, or as an acquisition tool as well, because maybe out there users don't know anything about your brand and they need some kind of getting a taste of your own brand, feeling a bit, okay, this is a real brand, this is possibly trustworthy, I see an identity, and this is key. So being authentic is really key, because you need to communicate well, something clear, something clean, something authentic, and possibly trustworthy, of course. But for a startup is more difficult, but it can be used as an acquisition tool. Maybe for a bigger brand is mainly just a retention tool, and nowadays is a must-have in any case.
Mm-hmm. I want to mention an example that came to me quite a few years ago when it first started out. It was Revolut, of course, and working in marketing, you're kind of constantly looking at what people are doing and looking for best practices. And when they first started, they really made a big boom. And they'd always talked about not spending on marketing. that they grew their community without spending any money on marketing, which is not strictly true because they did have a comms team that was built to be scalable, and they were, of course, having to put budget aside to reward their ambassadors who were essentially partners. So if you're going to go for community, you really need to be able to commit to being able to put budget and resources to it. There is no such thing as we did it for free. And Revolut are a really good example about how they grew their community, actually. They were doing all their Rev rallies, and they were building these ambassadors, and out of those rallies, people would rise to the top, and they would be their ambassadors that were actually essentially being referrers. And they were being given lots of little gifts and first looks and special promotions that most other people weren't getting access to.
You're mentioning the referrers and the special promotions and the little gifts, and you're making me think of all these influencers and brand ambassadors and everything. So I'm going to open that can. It's also part of this topic, and it's very hot right now because influencers has already been a hot topic for some time, and it has made huge amount of noise in any industry, in particular in the finance industry, and it has started to be regulated in a non-official way in some places, like France, for example. They're trying to be strongly regulating finfluencers, that there is even a term now for it. So brand ambassadors versus influencers, is it the same? Is it different? Should they fall under the same?
It's different. It's different prevalently by their nature and their intent, the way they get motivated, actually. Influencers are paid on commissions, or even media fees. Sometimes, you have that kind of agreement with that influencer and he works for you. Of course, they are not loyal. Influencers are not loyal at all. When there is someone giving them more money, they will just start promoting someone else. This is not great even for them, because I see a lot of times like best CFD broker in 2022, a YouTuber, and then after 2 weeks, best CFD broker of 2022, and this is another broker. And it's a problem for everyone. It doesn't really communicate the right thing, while the ambition of all the businesses out in our industry is really to build communities in order to get your clients to become from users of your product to actually brand ambassadors. And the difference between brand ambassadors and influencers is key, because brand ambassadors are loyal to their brand. Brand ambassadors give valuable feedback in order for you to improve your brand. Know your product. Influencers, they don't know the product. Brand ambassadors know your product, know pro and cons, and they know how to sell it well. So running referral friend campaigns, etc., is very useful if your audience is in that stage. If you took your user from using the product to actually becoming an ambassador. And that's what we try to do in our business, and I think that's the key point for everyone, in my opinion.
I think there is a place for influencers, but maybe more on a kind of one-off campaign, sort of, to get some immediate eyeballs. But in terms of ongoing involvement, then it's your ambassadors, like you said, they're more invested in your brand, especially if maybe you offer them some kind of share in the business as well. Whereas with influencers, I would use them for a limited time period just to give a bit of a bump to something. And just remember to stay compliant. We've seen both the SEC and the FCA recently clamp down on influencers. So always be compliant.
That's a problem at the moment. So the eye of SciSec, as we know now, is very much on influencers, influencer marketing in general. And possibly regulating that it can be a very positive way, because maybe it can lower down the pressure from the SciSec on the brokers that are using regulated influencers. but at the same time, it doesn't need to be too strict, because otherwise those few influencers will become very expensive, when you try to work with them, because they are one of a few.
I just want to add that anyway, when it comes to financial services, they're anyway more expensive because they understand that there is a risk to relate their name. But I do believe that we need to have something a more efficient way to control, let's say, the influencers. We are living in the era of influencers, so this is the truth, and it's not going to change for a few years at least, depends. But at the end of the day, I believe the best brand ambassador is your client. Because if you're a company that has its own proprietary app, I mean, your client is your ambassador, their review, the stars they give you, the comments in the forums, in the social media, or even, let's say, they have these group chats. That's the strongest tool at the moment because everyone now knows that influencers are getting commission. Brand ambassadors, though, I feel that if you want the visibility, if you want to create brand awareness, it's a great way to gain this, and you need to be very careful how to choose your ambassador and how it relates with the company vision, though, to avoid other risks. And on the same time, you need basically to ensure that you will use this ambassador to the fullest to create engaging experience in the community, or else it's just wasted money.
Yeah, it's a bit of a slippery slope because from where I stand, I see a lot of the brands that we work with working with influencers and also having brand ambassadors, but the line is very thin because to the eye of an observer, an outside observer, you don't necessarily know that this one is a brand ambassador and this one is an influencer because they both sound the same. If there is this register of good ethics for being an influencer, for example, they would have to disclose these kind of things that, they're getting paid for saying these kind of things. But we go back to the point of loyalty that you were mentioning today. They're with you, tomorrow with your competitor. And at the end of the day, your purpose is to build community, right? So you get that community, but it's fading. It's a second in the air. So is that really the goal? Is that really community building? At the end of the day, brand ambassadors will give you the loyalty. They will be the best representatives. But if they see that they're bringing value to the company, they will also want to get a piece of the pie and get some gifts or money or something at the end of the day.
And
right?
also with influencers, you see completely unrelated. Like I don't think Khloe Kardashian got rich trading crypto. It's like what's the connect there? Okay, she's got millions of followers, but is it really related to your brand? Whereas ambassadors and okay, there is a place for micro influencers, people that have maybe a small but very dedicated and very specific following. But yeah, ambassadors, they're inside your brand.
Yeah, but at the end, they may say, okay, I see, I'm happy to be doing that for you, but what do you give me in exchange? And they may get into this thing of like, why shouldn't I be an influencer as well? And then they may switch to somebody else. So it's, I think, in my opinion, it's a little bit tricky, and it may...
At the end of the day, if they have the traffic and the follower base, why not to switch? It's, they're either getting paid as influencers or they're getting commission as partners, or if they're real traders, let's say, and they know the product inside out and they have a YouTube channel, still they can share the conditions, the benefits, the disadvantages of a platform or any product. But if they have the follower base, unfortunately, we cannot control this.
In my opinion, it's the responsibility of the brand to guide the users through their journey and replying to their needs. If the ambition of a user is then to get to this kind of status, let's say, you as a brand should be able to reply to that need as well. However, guiding them is one thing, pushing them is different. So I wouldn't push them to get there, but of course there can be some kind of education, guidance, and even you get them to the brand ambassador status, then they learn they can possibly with a referral campaign they can make some money, and that's the first step. Then they get more curious, but you need to guide them to get them stick to you and loyal to you in this journey, avoiding them to find curiosity by looking somewhere else. This is the tricky point, but it's necessary. Users are not stupid nowadays. Information is everywhere.
Thank you, Will. We have 5 minutes left, so I'm going to move to a last question and then we will open the floor for questions. Because in this digital era, we're obsessed with tracking ROI and performance, and everything we hear about, especially if it is related to marketing, is what ROI are we going to get from that? And I guess that, Nikki, you're in a very good position when clients ask, what kind of ROI am I going to get from content in particular, and how do you track? I mean, community building and influencers or brand ambassadors. Is it that measurable? Like, how do your brands measure that kind of success or not?
I cannot spill out too much, but the big bosses are there. But basically, in general, nowadays it's pretty easy. There are tons of tools you can use in order to track influencer marketing activities and even the engagement and the interaction of your own audience in order to possibly refer other clients. You can use UTMs, you can use affiliate platforms, you can use affiliate links, you can use QR codes, and that's the first part of it. Then your CRM collects the information, and you can use an accurate data analysis looking at data. Of course, it's very important. Tracking is the most important thing. Without tracking, nothing works because no one gets rewarded. So that's the first part in order to make good calculations on ROI. Then of course, there is something you pay. There is some revenue coming, and of course there is also an indirect impact that is difficult to be calculated, but with some assumptions can be made. So nowadays there are all the tools out there in order to do it. I'm not concerned about it.
Yes.
Of course, it's always about ROI because you're going to put in $1, you want to get $2 out at least. And as Giancarlo said, with tracking links, especially for people that you're financially compensating, if it's affiliates or partners, then you need to know that traffic has come from them or that sign up. But when it comes to kind of brand, that's a little bit more tricky. But there are, as Giancarlo said, a lot of tools out there for social monitoring. Your Agora Pulse, your Hootsuite, or Sprinkler if you're really rich, because it's very expensive. And I think one of the things that you need to do is look at, the traffic that sort of comes back to your site as well, especially around campaigns. A really good way to do that as well is by having specific campaign hashtags. So that's something that will help you actually measure the result of what you do.
From my side, with regards to community, return on investment depends first of all on your KPIs, but it has to do with the lifetime value of the client. If you see returning users, if you see traffic from specific channels or influencers, it means it's working. At the end of the day, though, what you want to engage your clients or your partners. And eventually, if you see that the lifetime value is increasing and they're sticking with you, this is a great return on your investment, because community requires investment on tools, on tracking, on people to manage, on content. It's several things. And if you calculate the time out, the working human hours, it's a lot. I just want to add also that in our days, the business intelligence teams are very sophisticated. I don't want to make an advertisement, but there are tools that actually can integrate from social to different other platforms, and you can have all the statistics you want. Depends on the company how much they want to invest. So it's not that difficult nowadays.
Great. Thank you all for your great tips and picking your brains, allowing the audience to learn from all of you already building communities. We're going to open the floor for questions. We have 12 seconds, but maybe one question we can take over there.
So my question is, do you still believe in the old traditional forums that we used to have like 10 years ago, and they were actually legit, and it was all about Forex community? I mean, like the Forex Peace Army, baby peeps that we had back in the day, that it was working more like a forum. Do you still that they're still...
The digital forums, yeah.
I can take this. I believe there is still a place for that. It's mainly it's going to be more on the media affiliate side, in my opinion. But there is an evolution nowadays on that. Forums now, you know, if you think about Discord communities, they look a lot like forums. So I think it's just evolving. And
I don't like forums. I never liked them. They're out of your control.
yeah.
Build your own community,
Basically,
control it, but keep it loose.
Yeah, I would say that forum's purpose is to create trust. Someone will visit the forum to read the comments. They have some power, but I see that there is a trend now on Reddit, for example, that is actually real-time discussions, and you get really insightful feedback for any platform. If it's not transparent, then the trader or the partner can understand that it's something paid. It doesn't have the same strength.
From my end, if I may answer as well, I believe that they do have a place. I agree with all of you, but I would go a step further. I would say that they lack a lot of things that the current communities are looking for, which is interactivity with the actual brand. Because these forums are just between the users. There is nothing else. Everything else from the brand is kind of passive. The brand is not really interacting with the users. So the sense of community is not really being created. There is trust on whatever is being said because that's being moderated, but it's a kind of an observing discussion. I don't think right now it has the emotional involvement that the communities are looking for at the moment. We have run out of time. If any of you have any more questions after the panel, feel free to reach to the panelists. Thank you so much all for attending. Big round of applause to our panelists.
Thank you.